This series of tapes, Information versus Misformation, were recorded from classes this year by the Grand Master, Dr. Malachi York, known to us as Naya Malachi Zaduk El, our own Pharaoh, Amanubi Dakata. These tapes were released in part so that you may listen and learn the profound facts as taught by the man of this hour. And now, listen to the dynamic teachings of the Grand Master, Naya Malachi Zaduk El.
I've been trying to seek out the book, Return to Ancient Ones, of the Washitaw tribe. For a long time, they keep telling us the book wasn't published. They kept telling me it wasn't printed yet. Yet, on several occasions, I noticed that is holding the book up. Is holding the book up. And then someone said the book is not available. So we tried every means possible to get the book, only to fail. I wanted to find out what they were talking about as far as the Washitaw. However, but anyway, my brother there, he goes and finds the book for me and sends mail me the book. And I'm starting to read the book. There's a whole section on Ben-Yo. I remember him mentioning to me that the Empress mentioned that she was related to Ben-Yo. And I was like, oh, very interesting. You know, now, in my history, as an Ansar, I wasn't concerned with my mother's side of the family. I was only concerned with my father's side, the Mahdiya side of the family, especially as an Ansar. So I never really did any research. Or if I heard the name York, I was like, so what? It didn't mean much to me at the time. I never knew, how much it would end up meaning to me in this part of my life. I just never knew that. I know about the family. I know about the family in Virginia, Richmond. I know about the family in Boston, Suffolk County. I know about the family moving to Pennsylvania. I know about the family in Wyoming. And that's about it. I met the people in Pennsylvania and in Virginia, as I mentioned many times. I met some of my mother's relatives, and I was amazed to see them with red feathers on, or crimson feathers to be more exact, with unmarkings. It wasn't Freemason or Shrine, it just was feathers and black suits. And I was like, okay, Moors, but as a Muslim, I was familiar with the term Moor, through Sheikh Dawood. But it wasn't important to me because Ansar was more important to me than the word Moor. And Nubian was more important to me because I was able to take my history back to the noble tribe of the Hadradawa, or the Fuzzy Wuzzies of Nubia, by being in the line of the Mahdi. Alayhi salam, if we need to say that today. Right? And I totally ignored everything. I locked in on the dates of the Mahdi. He found the Jazir Abba in 1870. And I figured that meant something because we founded the Ansarullah community in 1970. It matched up with their prophecies of 100 years of Reformation. So I had no idea how important this information was, but there was this drive towards, my Native American heritage. Once I found out there was a piece of Native American heritage, and the woman that raised me, who they referred to as Diane Fletcher, right, her mother was named Black Feather, and I was nicknamed Black Eagle. I didn't care about it, the music, it had nothing to do with what I was doing. I was more into Isa Hadi al-Mahdi, whether I was going Imam or Hajj or whatever. That's the lifestyle I lived in Islam. And this goes to show you how Islam can blind you. Because you're locked in Islam, and nothing else appears to have any value or importance to you. You get locked into a 1400-year-old doctrine, which claims, and that's simply claims, to link back to the Prophet Muhammad of Arabia, and then from there they'll just grab Jesus and Moses and Isaac and Ishmael and Abraham and Enoch and right on back to Adam and claim them. And as a Muslim, you don't mind that, but you like that. So you claim right along with them, claiming. And you don't have any regard for archaeological findings. You don't have any concern about geographics. It's like Islam started in Arabia and spread, across the world. Alhamdulillah. Allah protect me, anybody know? You know what I'm saying? As you get older and much wiser, you start to probe more. And as I begin to look deeper into this Ben York thing, which I happened to stumble upon watching Bill Cosby. He had a program when he was much younger, and he was talking about Nubians and the media and how the electrical man portrayed us with big lips and picky hair and the buckwheat and, you know, all these Negroid, you know, type of things. And so, then he came to a guy and said, and there was once an African who was a Native American named Ben York. And he was with Lewis and Clark. And I was like, oh. I wondered, I heard of Sergeant York before. I heard about the Sergeant York in Fort, you know, in the South there with the black troops. And I said, I must be related to him in some kind of way. Found out he was camped out of Virginia. I was related to him. So I wonder if I'm related to this Ben York fellow. This happened while I was in Brooklyn. You know, watching the video, and I wonder, that's what Bill Cosby, I thought it would be funny when I first got it. It wasn't funny at all to me when I really got into it. So I investigated, found out, oh yeah, you're related to Ben York, he's a great-grandfather. I'm like, a great-grandfather on this side is a Mahdi. A great-grandfather on this side is a Native American. How did he become a Native American African? I want to know. I mean, that stands to reason, right? What's he doing in Louisiana? I want to know. You know, and this, what is it? How is he making? Oh, well, he was in the Lewis and Clark situation. And when I did the 5% book, I asked a couple of relatives about the information. They gave me what they thought was correct. And I said, oh, it's a Lewis and Clark. He was there. And, you know, and he helped them with the purchase, etc., etc., etc. So I said, oh, wow. Came to Ben York. And left again. I investigated again about Ben York and his family line, found out, oh, wow. He's from Mali. He's a Dogon. Okay. When I said Ben York comes from Ibn, and he came from the Ali family. They became Idrisi in Morocco when the Malians and the Senegalese invaded, moved north, and pushed the Spaniards and them out and took over the land. I think they explained it a long time ago. Okay. So he's some kind of way affiliated with the Moors, the Moors. Still not important to me because Ansar Allah doctrine is concrete. Mahdiism family link is concrete. I'm already in full power. You know what I'm saying? Again, I don't think this is of any use to me. So I get a tape from a fellow in New York called Hakeem Bey, a young, fiery Moorish brother. And he's talking on it. I said, okay, he's talking about Moorish ascendancy. Again, it didn't appear to have anything to do with us. Then I got one by Dr. Blair, Delwood, and on the opening of it, Hakeem Bey is there again. He had his fez on, and he's proud of his crimson fez, and how he must wear it, and we're all Moors, and I'm looking, this guy, and it starts to click, and he mentions the Empress, Variat. Correct, I say a tunic. I say, okay, she's from Nat Turner, she's from the Tunic tribe, and they're affiliated with the Washitaw. And I remember that Ben York had a Native American son by a Sachakawiya, and his name was Washitaw. I said, Washa. And the women that they mentioned that the Frenchmen came over here and had sex with were from the Washoe women. So I hear Washa, Washaki. Oh. I don't know now, still to this point, that Ben York is the half-brother to Anne Marie, who is the daughter of the great empress that Empress Variati is talking about. The Ayah, Anne Maria. I didn't know that when she said, I am a descendant, meaning herself, from the great empress of the Washitaw. And she said, Ben York was a Washitaw, from the Washitaw tribe. I know about his Seminole relations to find out that he had a wife that was Seminole. And his Cherokee and his Choctaw, because he had wives of all these different tribes. I didn't know that there were 3 Sachakawiyas. That Choctaw, which was a Frenchman, who was Jean-Baptiste's father, by way of Sachakawiya, by force, he never married her, which was Ben York's wife, right? That's Jean-Baptiste, who they tried to say came out of Haiti, when he's really related to a Canadian. French, the language. Mali, French, the invading language. Morocco, French, the invading language. Louisiana, French. Cajun Queens, French. Creole, French. Haiti, what's the dialect? What do they call it? Creole. What do they speak in Louisiana? Creole. You see where he ties in again. Now, thanks to this brother passing me that book I've been trying to get, and I don't know why the book kept bugging me, but as many books as I write, if I don't have the time to sit down and read other people's books, I really don't. But getting my hands on this book seemed to be an obsession. So we powwowed up in New York on our land, and Mount Zion, and all the Native Americans came out, and they told us a story. The chief sat down and they said to me, you know who we all are? We all represent the black eagle. I heard that before. Well, go ahead. We're calling ourselves the Shoshone Nubian tribes because we're relating ourselves to Saksakawia's family, the Shoshone, of which Ben York was living with. We didn't even associate ourselves with Washitaw, and nor did we identify with the fact that Ben York himself was a Washitaw, El or Ali, because we only saw him as an African who came over with the African tide that moves in here. You see that? So we didn't have no reason they could identify what tribe he was. So when I read in a book that he was Washitaw, I was like, phew. You know, I was amazed to find out that Ben York was a Washitaw, because then the picture gets clear to me why I'm involved. And why back in 1970, when pure Sufi became Nubian Islamic Hebrews, we wore tarbushes. Everybody else called them fez, but because we knew more Arabic than most people, we knew the Arabic name for it was a tarbush. And then the Freemasons called it fez when they went into the city of Fez, when the crusade blocked them from getting into the holy city, and they relocated. We know his story. You know what I'm saying? That way back then, we wore the same outfit I have on today. We call it a butler. A Moroccan word also for suit as well as Arabic Sudanese. Al feathers and a 6-pointed star crescent and all. As a symbol. Upright crescent. Nobody else was wearing it. Nobody else even saw it before. But Freemasons of a higher order, Knights of Templar, they glance over at you and go, you know what that means? They heard of Madame Blavatsky? You go, okay. Theosophical Society, okay. We know you know what took place. We know who gave birth to the fairies on this planet. And they back off. That's all they need to know, that you knew. You know, your ancestors. You say, well, we're founded in the Quran. We're not a sect. Like the Masjid Taqwa, Masjid Iqwa, and Masjid Yasin, and we're not here. We find ourselves, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kunu ansar Allah. O you who are faithful, be kunu ansar Allah. We find ourselves mentioned in the Quran. There. Not because we want to be called that. Not because our Imam is tripping, he likes the name Ansar Allah. Not because it reminds him of his desire to be Taqwa, or Iqwa, or Ikhwaniyah. But because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed it in the Quran. And in the phase that we're traveling through, unbeknown to us, being guided by the ancient ones, our ancestors, we thought we was in control, and they were just driving this tram, and we were sitting there on the path to where we are now. Unbeknown to us again. So as we moved down this road, and we met among us as we came from Nubian Islamic Hebrews to Nubian Islamic Hebrews and Salah King. Then I take these brothers who walk with me back to State Street. I tell them, well, listen, we don't have a masjid, a place of prayer as yet. So I'm going to take y'all back to the place I used to go to when I was a kid. Having been and found on record in State Street from June 12, 1957. Before most of the Sunni Muslims who say I'm not a Muslim were even born, I was sitting in there, and it dawned on me to go back to the old pictures and look around. And you go back to the book and look at the old pictures in the Masjid of State Street, you notice that most of the men who were sitting there, Nubians, got on these feathers. Then I look at Chef Daoud again, And I realized that what he wore as a shawl was nothing but a shawl given to him by King Faisal of Saudi Arabia. He wore wrapped around his fez. Look at the picture again. And I said, Sheikh Dawood, Moroccan, Moor, State Street. I said, when we get there, we're going to conflict. Why? Because State Street was in control at the time of the Pakistanis. One Sheikh Hafiz Mahbub, who couldn't speak fluent Arabic, was teaching elite Bar to the Sunnis, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, Hair Rahman and Hair Rahim, other skin greens and stuff. And they could not deal with this new group of people that would come to Salatul Jummah on Friday, dressed in all black with these tall black feathers with a green 6-pointed star crescent on our, what we call butler, or camise, or demis. And the Sheikh would come downstairs and point out and say, see that guy right there? Point at me. That's y'all's leader. Follow him. These Pakistanis don't know what they're talking about. That man there is y'all's leader. And the more he would do that, the madder the Sunnis would become. Until one of them got up and walked over to me, a Pakistani that is, and attempted to reach for my nose ring, saying, this is not Islam. What is? And I said, you touch my nose ring, I'm going to break your face in this mosque. See? He says, see, these are not Muslims. I said, excuse me, sir, we never claim to be Muslim. We claim to be Nubian Islamic Hebrews. And if you were a Muslim, you would know the Hebrews are your father. Because Abraham was a Hebrew. And if you knew that I, as your father, was a descendant of the Hebrews, you'd know why I have this nose ring, because you would have read the Torah in the 24th chapter. And you would know about the ring in my nose. But being you don't, and you don't touch me, because I'm not one of these flunky American converts. He made a big mistake. What a Wally and all these guys. He said, I'll show you something. And he ran across the room to the niche, which was in the wrong direction, by the way. They didn't find out the niche was in the wrong direction. So like 30 years after having the mosque on State Street, they were facing the wrong direction. Every time I'd come in there, I would tell Abdul Wali and Sadiq and them, I'd say, you know, the mihrab is really that way. But the reason why they can't put it that way is because they're using someone's living room, and the sisters are on the other side of that curtain. And it would throw their whole community off, but the sisters would end up getting the biggest the back room, which would be the biggest room. And the racistness of their, and the male chauvinism of the organization won't let them shift it around and divide the rooms, the two rooms adjacent to each other from right to left, because the men's room will be smaller. So they'll all face the wrong direction, or are they just demons and they know it? These Hindus. And then we would tell them this is not the Grandfather. Then we would go to the East, and we would say, East and West belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so we'll take it, which direction you go. They say the East and West belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then turn around and say, which way is East? Right? So we had conflict with that. We had to tell them back off. Sheikh Dawood started to take sick. We worried, because Sheikh Dawood would leave State Street and come over to the Ansar Allah community, wherever we were located, and spend all of his Iyad or festivals like Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr with us. And that made the Sunnis mad again. They couldn't understand that if we were Kafir or Kufr, they had all kinds of pronunciations. Why would Sheikh leave State Street where they're setting up this big festival and go over there and join those fanatical guys over there on Bushwick Avenue or St. John's Place or Rockaway or Utica? What is he doing over there? Why? We sent a car to pick him up. And he would leave all the Bakis and the Sunnis standing on the stoop with their lips poked out, mad at us. You know right? So we would scoop him up and bring him to the kids. He would say, this is my community. And he would spend that day with us, and then we would deliver him home. When Sheikh Dawood took sick, it was right after we had a war with Sunni Muslims for State Street, of which we took over. And Sheikh Dawood told us that he wanted us to come and protect him. So we went into State Street, we built the gate up there to keep them from getting up there. You follow that? And eventually, the Pakistanis called the police on us. So we had to leave, because we didn't have the right to be there. You follow? Even though Sheikh Dawood wanted us there. So we would stay outside. Brothers would stay outside day and night. Eventually, his health got worse, and he had been taken to a hospital. And our brothers would go to the hospital every day and stay floor above it, floor beneath it, and surround it. And we'd watch these Pakistanis squeeze in and out with hated guts. Eventually, they called the cops on us. The so-called Sunnis, Negroes, and their Pakistani brothers, and made us stay away from the hospital. Within a couple of years after that, well, not even years, a couple of months after that, Chef Helen was dead. And they forbid us, he wanted me to perform his funeral. And they forbid us to come to the funeral. Is this true? We wasn't allowed to come to the funeral. But they didn't know that Chef Helen had given me a certificate to become the proprietor of the Islamic Mission of America, is what it's called. And because a new charter was issued to us, and saw our community of the Islamic Mission of America with a seal that went back to 1944, a year before I was born, giving us the power of our own sovereignty, and linking us to what he was as a Moor who was raised in the Caribbean, making us Moors, and why we unknowingly put on the crown of the Moor. Because unbeknown to us, we were being guided by the ancient ones. And we didn't even know it. And our success as a community, Ansar, baffled the Sunnis to the point where they accused us of being Zionists and part of the Jews, and they had something new every week because we were progressing. And the progress amazed us, unknowing that we were guided by the ancient one, but rather thinking that we was getting the help of an unconfirmed ancient Arabian idol god called Allah. One of the 360 gods that was worshipped in a cube-shaped building in Central Arabia, moved up from the Southern Arabia, from the Sabians, from the Sheba period, and the god's name was also Rahman. That's why the Quran says, call on Allah or call on Rahman. The Southerners called him Rahman. One of those deities became God. And a crescent god he is. And we were called on this crescent god because when Muhammad supposedly received it, he said, believe in the ghaib, the unseen. You see? And that's very tricky. Because you won't be able to figure out what that means unless you look up at the sky. And you look up at the sky as a Muslim, and that first ascension would be Salatul Fajr. It would be in the morning. And you wouldn't see the moon. You would see the light of the sun. And if you travel the skies as a Muslim in your religious practice, you would go from Salatul Fajr to Salatul Dhuhr, afternoon, and you wouldn't see the moon. And if you kept on walking that path, you'd go through Salatul Asr, evening, and you wouldn't see the moon. And then you'd have to wait for the sun to set, because according to the Quran, the sun and the moon cannot shine at the same time. And the Arabic word chosen for moon was Qamar. The Q has always been interchangeable in the Semitic languages with the K, which produced Qamar. Qamar. Everybody was talking about your Qamar, an unseen force that controls your destiny. Qamar, same word. By the time you get to Salatul Maghrib, which appears to be the sunset, you are in a mosque, under a metal moon, on the top of the dome, making your last prayer of the day. Now note that when they got to the fifth prayer, they didn't identify it with the sun or the day to the night, but rather with dinner. And they called it Salatul Ish. And he'll translate that as late night prayer. And late night is two different words. Layla and Ba'd. After. Late and night. Has nothing to do whatsoever with the word Isha, meaning dinner. Because you should be inside your tent for that. Or in the masjid again. So the unseen deity of the Quran in Surah Al-Baqarah, under the call Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, they have a qamar. They actually have a prayer for the moon, a surah, for Shamsa, for the sun, for the zodiac, and then for the stars. They have chapters that are entitled the sun, the moon, the stars, the zodiac. They have chapters that symbolize Hathor, Surah Al-Baqarah, the Surah of the Cow, an ancient Egyptian female deity who was an incarnation of the deity Isis. And one of the gods who reigned with Allah as an idol in the Kaaba was El-Uzza, Isis. And the temple of the Kaaba, they admit, was a reconstruction job in Muhammad's time. With me? They admit that the Kaaba, which means cube-shaped building, was reconstructed in Muhammad's time, and a meteorite called Hajratul Aswad, black stone, was put in it, and it faces the direction of the south. You follow? And they also have one they call the stone of Yemen, facing south, where the statue of Allah was dug up, with an inverted crescent on his chest, on the statue. Of course, it's going to be in books for you to see soon. You see that? But they openly tell you that this Kaaba is not something that was created after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam got his revelation. It wasn't revealed to him to go build the Kaaba, but rather it is the holiest site on earth, according to them. And all Muhammad did is reconstructed a building that Abraham and Ishmael has supposed to have constructed, who claims in their hadith that it goes back to Adam, that it was the first holy house, and if you declare Adam a Muslim and one who made salah, then he worshipped at the Kaaba before Abraham. With me? So the Kaaba is not an Islamic or Muslim or 1400-year-old building. It's a 6,000-year-old building, reconstructed several times. And finally, when Muhammad came, it had been filled with 360 idols. See, the 360 idols was an Egyptian practice. And the Egyptians did not worship the moon god. The Egyptians worshiped the sun god. So the solar calendar would have to have 360 days in it for the motion of the planet around the sun. So in Muhammad's time, in the year 622, they had to get away from the sun deity and get into the moon deity, so they introduced a lunar calendar, Hijra calendar. You see that? They were reinstituting their old paganistic religions, but trying to take control of the now radical Mecca. I say radical Mecca because Mecca was saturated with everybody else's gods, except the Meccan's God. Allah was just classified as one of the deities and his daughters and his wives. All the other deities were from foreign people who came there to do trade. You see? So Muhammad was to bring in the crescent deity. Allah. I had to make that clear to you so you can see why we travel from the crescent back to the sun. Because they traveled from the sun over to the crescent. And why the ancient ones took us through the study of the crescent, Islam, and then on over to the sun. And I repeat, if you got it tomorrow, this goes for any Muslim, 5%, Nation of Islam, gods of Islam, whatever you call it, Christian or Jew. If you got it tomorrow, and Allah was not in your holy book, you understand? You would have nothing that would affect you. With it? But if you got it tomorrow morning, and the sun was not in the sky, you can guarantee that you'd be dead within a couple of days. If you remove the physical sun from a part of your life, there will be no growth, no vegetation. If you remove the moon out of the sky, which has an effect on the tide and the gravity and the clouds and the rain, there will be no water. You saw what I'm saying? So, I put before you, if you remove your God, we won't miss him or her. If you remove our God, we will miss you and everything else that lives on the planet Earth. You see what I'm saying? I didn't know that the ancient ones was taking us on this long path back to themselves. I was attuned to the world and the events that was taking place in the world and see. It's a gift of sight. But I didn't know that I was a Washitaw. I didn't know that Ben York was a Washitaw. You follow that? I didn't know he was directly related. I know he was involved with the Shoshone. I didn't know that you were Washitaw. You follow that? I heard it through Hakeem, I heard it through different brothers, Mary, they, and different brothers, but I didn't know that we were. Most of the people that are talking about us are not Washitaw themselves. They're Moorish scientists. And when they were pointing out that our brothers got a lot of nerve one time, putting back on those feathers, now it's about time you brothers caught on. They said, caught on to what was ours. And unless you can prove that you are a Washitaw, then it's really not yours. You are a convert. But you cannot take away the fact that I am a York. A Y-O-R-K, York. You cannot take away the fact that I produced my birth certificate in a pamphlet and you saw that it was issued July 3rd, 1945 out of Suffolk in Boston. You can't deny that. You can't deny that the Yorks resided in Boston, where Ben York went. You cannot deny that my mother's family are in Richmond, Virginia, and always have been, generation to generation, and wore feathers. And she's right there now.
And Ben York died in Richmond, Virginia in 1879 and was born in 1787.
When we corrected the record and they had one of the sons instead of him. They do that purposely. A lot of those facts, they distort them purposely so we cannot make these connections. You can't deny that. And the great Empress had already written it in her book before I got the book, that she is related to Ben York. She had already written in the book that the word Louisiana comes from Lulu, Louisiana, and New in her book. Oh yeah. They can't take that back. It's in the book. They mistranslate the word for Lulu. They said the Hebrew word for dog, but it's not, we know it's a Sumerian word. You know what I'm saying? More primitive. But it's okay. my sister, she's doing her best. So now I stand before you, and silly Bible says, well, oh boy, he changed again. For the better. And find out that historical records prove that when you were mocking me, fool, when I'm saying I'm Imam Isa, and you're saying, oh, you Dwight York, oh, you a York, oh, you Dr. York. You fools didn't know that you were opening up the enemy to find out something greater than the Mahdi. Greater than that. But that rather than my great-grandfather, and I'm not talking about Muhammad Ahmed al-Mahdi, alayhi salam, of the Ansar in Sudan. You said that's not my grandfather, that I'm not affiliated, that I'm not an Ansar, but that I am an American, and that I was born here, and that my family is York. And you know my mother Mary, yes, all of Washitaw, women will call Maria, which is nothing but the French way, Maria St. Mary. And Williams, her maiden name, came from William Clark, who took them into slavery. Hello? What you don't realize is that my ancient ancestors, the Washitaw, were also controlling the fate of your lips so that you would be putting my foot in your mouth for this day and time where these things will be revealed, and it is a worldwide phenomenon. It's an awakening that you can't deny. And I can trace back people in here, Williams, Fletchers, Johnsons, Parhams, and different parts of you people when I get your last names and find out you're also a part of that people. This is why many times you didn't feel African when you looked at Africa. This may be why some of you in the 60s didn't go dashiki, sandal, and drum. You say, well, I'm part Native American or something. But I know. And when you saw Africa, and I said, well, they're naked in there. In Black magazine, you was like, I know I'm black, Afrocentric crap, but I don't really feel African. And you was ashamed to say it. You know what I'm saying? It's because you weren't. You were Olmecs, indigenous people, Moors. And I got to keep explaining the word Moor for my Moorish brothers being a linguist. Because they keep making the mistake of thinking that Moor is really an ancient name. You with me? I must establish that the word Moor is simply Morenos. And then they'll go, no, it's M-U-U-R, Moor, French. You with me? And they were describing us. But in this conversation, I must also address the brothers of mine who call themselves Hispanic and Latin. You follow? You are not Hispanic and you are not Latin. We have to use Latin American in order for them not to call you a Spaniard or a Spartan. You don't want to get tired with that. So we were forced, oh, they're so tricky, to use the word Latino and Latin American. And you don't speak Latin. You speak a derivative of it. So you're no more a Latino than an American is a British. Insofar as he's speaking a derivative of English, but not the Queen's English. And no Nubian or Nuwapi in America or more wants to be referred to as British. Or British national. Except for the Hebrew word Brit Miller Covenant, which they don't seem to be aware of. But when they call you a Latin American, they're calling you a Roman. The Romans spoke Latin. Follow that? They're not even calling you a Sicilian, which is a Carthaginian under Hannibal from Libya and Caruma. If you know the story of the great Hannibal Hitler. They're not even giving you that. They're trying to make you think you are a Roman. And as I said before, and when you try to trace the Roman history or the Roman roots, you come back to two brothers raised by a wolf. You go back to a myth. You don't want to go back to a myth. You are a Morenos. And you're not morenos by color. You would be negra by color if they wanted to say black like in your color. But morenos is black like in the supreme balanced state that existed before the light was cut off. The godlike state. And when they identified both parties in America, they called them blackahores. Negra moreno. You understand that? They cannot let you link your way back. If they do, they take you back to Morocco, but won't tell you that Mauritania sounds more like Moor than Morocco. And Mauritania means Moorish place. And it's the only part of the Islamic world in Africa that wears the upright crescent on a green flag, a yellow upright crescent. Everybody else is using either the crescent to the right or the crescent to the left. You follow that? If you look across the North African flags, you see that the Moroccan or the Moors use the flag of North Africa. If you look at the flag coming up if you're facing the flag, where we're coming up on the left side, you're looking at Turkey. And places like that, which the Nation of Islam tied in because of Wallace Dodd Ford being Turkish, and of course, if you look at the word God, D-O-D-D, in Freemasonry, you find it is a sacred book. It comes out of France that they're looking for. And only 2 copies still exist. Some will go into. So they have to derail you finding your roots, because if you find the roots, you can re-doctor it and grow fresh plants again. That's why they use root. They want to cut us off at the root. And it was amazing for me to say, I'm a Washitaw. But I want to make it clear that the Islamism of it or is Berber invasion. The Berbers, which is a mispronunciation of Berber, which comes from the word barbarian, conquered and brought in Islam to Morocco. When we moved as Dogons from Egypt over to Mali, and then we moved north and took over what they're now calling Morocco, they don't call it Morocco in Morocco. They call it Maghribi. The word Maghribi means Salatul Maghrib, where the sun sets again, or the West. There was no Western world other than Morocco. If you ask someone in the Arab world, where is the West, and say it in Arabic, Ain al-Gharb, they say al-Maghrib. Ain al-Gharb, Gharb, Gharaba, Maghraba, Maghribi. As far as they're concerned, as far as West went was Morocco. There was nothing on the other side of that. You see? But the Dogons of Mali, who were mystically in tune with the Sirius star constellation, they knew that the vortex created, what am I going to say, a tide that moved from what's called Africa or Africa today right over to America. Moving right on down into the Caribbean islands and straight on up to where you find the Bermuda Triangle. Let me give you the triangle, the Bermuda Triangle. You with that? Yeah. The Bermuda Triangle is not but a 3-sided angle. Some say pyramid, others can call it a tetrahedron. Until you start putting the geometrics into it, it's not there. It's the only place on the planet, except one more, where the compass needle still points due north regardless. Did you know that? Did you know there's one more place? And another triangle? It's called the Devil's Triangle. This one named Bermuda after the place. It's in China, on the other side of the whirling vortex that moves between 32 and 33 degrees on this planet. You understand? And on the other side, there is another triangle. Bring the two triangles together before the land masses move, and you get your six-pointed star, as they call it. They cheat and tell you it's a star, but throughout all of your learning in America, you have to go find out on your own that a star is a sun. They don't just get up and say, well, by the way, you know, the star is the sun. Until now that we found out, but years ago, that wasn't even in our curriculum. That was fine. Why didn't know the star was? I didn't know the sun was a star. It's one of many. You follow that? Right. The six-pointed star, and they called Arabia, which was a new place, the Middle East. You cannot be a Middle East. You can have a middle in the East, but then you cannot be the Middle East. A Sharaf also does not exist. You understand? Play no more games. The day has come. So what they did, when the wise got wind of it, is they started referring to it as the Fertile Crescent, when there was nothing fertile about Arabia. More like fruitful. And they were putting together the fact that this crescent, with it, was between the two triangles on the planet that, when brought together, will open the vortex. You with me? Hey, Mr. Muslim. Let's talk. See what we're talking about. When you bring the two crescents, the Bermuda Triangle, the two pyramids, the Bermuda Triangle and the Devil's Triangle together in the center of the Fertile Crescent, you get a six-pointed star and crescent, symbol of the ancient ones. That's why they lean over and say to you, do you know what that six-pointed star and crescent means on your hand? And you let me go, yeah. Okay. They peep at the unk in the middle of it. Say, what is that unk? You say, the key. You follow? You go, so you know a little something. I say, no, I know a little more than something. I know what time it is. I know when the stars, the pyramids crisscross, and the crescent rises, that is a fertile crescent that is hit with the star of the ancient ones. What will happen? The vortex is on. I know it. You know it too. But you never thought I'd find out before it was too late. You thought you'd keep me wrapped up in music, and in movies, and in drugs, and in parties, and in dressing, and in hoarding, and in wishing, and in wanting, and in fantasizing I'm something that I'm not. You never knew that I would find out. You never knew that there'd be one raised up from amongst us. You kept looking in the wrong direction. You couldn't see us. I'm going to tell you why you couldn't see us. Because it's hard to focus on a moving target.